Broadway High School. We're not a typical high school, right?
Face it, we don't sit in rows and listen to teachers lecture us about what they want us to do.
Here we design our own projects about what we want to learn. For example, we're making a documentary right now.
At Broadway, we learn what we're interested in.
We tried something new this year. Guided projects where students and staff came together and they made something was mind-blowing. Welcome to Broadway High School. This is our documentary project.
I have the wonderful opportunity of being the principal at Broadway High School. It's an alternative school for pregnant and parenting mothers. So I'm Dr. Newman, the principal.
Talk to us about PBL, project-based learning.
Project-based learning is fabulous because it really takes every student from where they're at, what they're interested in, their individualized learning levels. And it kind of pushes you to think about what excites you about learning, which if every school did it, oh man, you'd have kids excited. It would even help close the achievement gap, I believe, because it comes from where the students are centered rather than where schools say you have to learn this topic this way from this text. So projects are really about getting things that you like to learn, but also relating it to the standards and all of the learning targets that you're required to learn. So a project is supposed to be more hands-on, more involving your thinking and what you like to think about, but also challenging you to be very inquisitive.
My name is Opal Ehalt. I'm a teacher at Broadway High School. I also work as the instructional facilitator. We came up with the guided projects as a team of teachers. We knew that a lot of students were interested in some certain topics, like documentaries and fashion. However, it seemed like some of those smaller projects about fashion never kind of got rolling. So we wanted to model for students how they could take an interest, like making a documentary or designing an article of clothing, and connect it to content areas that they might not think about connecting it to, such as language arts or social studies. And then we had a couple teachers that were interested in, just like Jim Daggett, who was interested in building a kayak with a group of students. And so as a teacher, we kind of brainstormed how could we really teach our students how to make a really great project and connect it to cross-content areas, and then get students to work together in teams on things that they had some joint interest in. So we thought this was quarter 2. We decided we'll go into quarter 3 doing this guided projects. We'll model it for a quarter, and then quarter 4 let some students branch off and do some of their own guided projects. And the projects just got so big, and I think the students got really interested, so we continued it through quarter 4. And we also reflected as a team of teachers, our students engaged, our students connecting their projects to different content areas, and at the end of quarter 3 we saw that they were, so we decided to continue working on the guided projects.
Passion of mine, I love to watch it, I love to train in it, and also I just saw the opportunity to teach a class on boxing as also an opportunity to incorporate a lot of other things, like teaching of like kind of self-reliance and confidence, and also literature and film, because there is a surprising number of films and books and poems and essays written about boxing and how boxing is just kind of a metaphor a lot of times for any sort of struggle that someone may be going through. I've been training as a boxer for about 6 years, 7 years maybe, and it's just it's really fun. It's fun, but it's also relaxing. It gives me something to do with my spare time, obviously. I don't like to go to the gyms very much, so I kind of set up my own boxing gym at my place with bags and jump ropes and various kind of do-it-yourself tools, I guess, that I use for boxing. And it allows me after a day to just kind of come back, relax, get healthy, and also it just helps me to really focus on something other than whatever else is going on in my life. So it provides a good focal point for me.
Well, you know, one of the things that made me want to teach boxing was that it was a little different from most physical education instruction that we give in high schools. So I thought it would be something that the girls would enjoy. Back in my career, I taught women's self-defense, And one of the things that I took away from teaching that was how empowered women are when they learn about their own personal power physically. And boxing is a way to generate knowledge about my personal power and what I can accomplish if I put my mind to it.
So my name is Jim Daggett. I am a teacher here. I'm a social studies teacher at Broadway High School. And I currently lead the kayak project, which is a guided project that we are doing. I think what is going to happen with this project, we've already started to see, is that students don't have much familiarity with kayaks, let alone building a kayak. But the process as you build the kayak develops skills, like hands-on skills that the students oftentimes have not experienced. And their confidence and excitement with that process will increase. They also are going to be learning about the different handlings of tools that will also gain that confidence and that understanding of construction and the understanding of what a kayak is and the significance that the kayak actually has as a craft in the world today, in particular with the Inuit culture. The materials that we're going to use to make the kayak is going to be mostly made out of wood. We're going to use an artificial type of sinew, which is a twine that we're going to use to help bind and tie the wood together. We are going to use wooden dowels. We're also going to use a nylon, and it's a fancy nylon called ballistic nylon. That's very, very durable and tough. And so it's going to be a very lightweight kayak that is going to be framed with wood, and it's going to be finished off with a skin, which is going to be made out of ballistic nylon.
Today we're about to launch our skin-on-frame sea kayak that these incredible young ladies hand-built.
Hey, will you show us your kayak?
It's up there. It's the first top one. On top. And this car is bringing it to the lake.
What's the lake called? Lake Tacoma?
That's my least favorite question.
Okay,
My
good.
concern is not about it floating. My concern is about it going straight.
Straight,
That's my only concern.
And there's the kayak that you guys built.
I'm confident in our kayak.
It's actually getting students to feel comfortable and confident in developing, getting in and getting their hands on building and constructing and feeling comfortable sawing a piece of wood or using the drill to drill holes in the wood. All of those come with concerns and questions that they understandably are reserved about. So the initial reservations have been one of the larger frustrations or challenges, I should say, of getting the students involved in the project. On the flip side, one of the most rewarding aspects of the project has been watching their confidence grow as they have been using the tools and as they have been producing the boat.
Hi, Miss A. Welcome to Fashion. We are working on our final projects. We've got 3 girls working on dresses, and we have 1 student working on a skirt. Trying to get these done because tomorrow's the last day of school.
Nice up. Great. So tell me a little bit of an overview about the fashion group project this year.
Well, we've been blogging some different things about fashion that we like and don't like, men's fashion, women's fashion. The students learned how to sew, most of them for the first time, and they made a doll blanket. And then the students who finished their paper, they had to write an essay about different fashion eras, and those who finished that essay got to make a final project. So that's what we're working on.
I like the final projects, but I really like the creativity that students put into their blankets. Tiana, tell me what your favorite part about this project is.
Making my skirt.
You are? Is this your final project?
Yes.
Can you hold it up for us?
Welcome to Documentary. I am Mr. Coleman. I'm a social studies teacher at Broadway High School. And we decided to do a documentary project this semester because we thought it was, I thought, at least in my input, that it was an important way of having students learn to understand how real-world topics are portrayed and one way of communicating it to an audience. Documentaries are really prevalent in the way information is communicated, and I found that, you know, historically a lot of the assignments that we've had have been ones that have incorporated documentaries, and a lot of times the students really couldn't quite extract the information and really make sense of some of what was said. So I thought that it was an important project, not only from the standpoint of them understanding some of the curriculum, but also potentially developing some of their own documentaries. I thought this was a great real-world skill. One of the first things our students will start with is storyboarding. And storyboarding is really when you sort of start to communicate and get your ideas on paper and organize your ideas. And when you're actually doing the filming process, it's the writing process. You're doing the writing, and then we go back and we do the revision, we edit. So it really is exactly the same sort of overall process as when you're doing a written piece. So we thought that this was something that really was a media literacy component beyond simply being just understanding the way documentaries communicate information. That was one learning target. The other was media arts and the technical knowledge of how to use the cameras and some of the technology, the editing software, which is something that I'm terrible at. I have to admit it. I'm really bad at it. Even now, I'm still just learning.
I'm co-leading the group with Mr. Coleman and Tia. And let me explain a little bit about what we're doing here. So we started out, because we're a project-based learning school, I really wanted the girls to get their hands on cameras and to get out there and to film. When I went to college, I went to art school, and we didn't have digital camera, but we had photography. We did a lot of lectures. So we spent half the time watching teachers tell us technical aspects instead of actually getting to use the camera. I think we only got to use the camera a couple times. So my goal was to put the camera in their hands and have them, make storyboards, learn the language of film, learn hands-on how to use the technical aspects of shutter speed and light meter, and to learn how to use sound, and learn how to use the tripod, and to use to create their own continuity exercise. So we came up with a project to do zombie movies, because zombie movies could be, shot really in one day. We could use makeup, we could use storyboarding, we could use just different aspects of film and learning. It took off. Everybody was involved. In fact, we probably could have spent another 2 weeks on just those zombie movies. The girls are using iMovie to edit with. Our final project is a documentary about the other group projects. So, including documentary. So, documentary about documentary. So, we decided to go out and film all the projects after we finished our zombie movies. And this is now the final product. It's a little short 10-minute film on our school, on project-based learning, on guided projects, kayak, fashion, documentary, and boxing. So we are doing the final piece on Final Cut Pro, just because it's so in-depth. And so the girls are kind of learning a little bit of how to edit on Final Cut Pro now, which will help them later on if they choose to go into this field. Guided project.
Documentary was very different. When I came into documentary, I just thought of doing regular little skits and little documentaries, but really it goes into the real world of filmmaking and starting off small and going big. It was really nice. We started off really small, and then we went to the zombies, and it was kind of difficult. It really was kind of difficult, because that was really the first time where we got down and dirty with all the filmmaking ourselves and trying to edit everything. We are working right now on editing. This looks like the kayak group, so we are editing the kayak and actually fashion also. A lot of editing between putting music in and cutting things out and putting more things in. Will you continue the guided projects next year?
Well, if you heard some of my description about guided projects, really supporting the girls, all of you ladies learning together, all of you thinking about things you like to learn through, and setting in that social emotional supports with multiple teachers and multiple students learning from each other, I believe guided projects should be embedded all year long. So we tried it and experimented with it when we first moved here, when we did a guided project as a whole school around out on the St. Croix River and around water. I think we've really honed in, though, that multiple types of guided projects are really the experiment that you guys like to do and like to learn around.
Thanks for watching Broadway's Guided Projects.
All right.
OMG, you guys really just